Hey guys, wanted to pop on here and teach you one of my favorite recipes that involves a couple ingredients that may intimidate you. So I just wanted to show you what to do with this crazy little squash that you might see in the store. It's a Kobocha squash or a buttercup squash. And I love this squash so much because you can eat the peel. So a lot of the squash, butternut, spaghetti, acorn squash, they all have just different, they all taste different, they all have different textures. And the bite on this one, the chew and the texture when you cook it is just so good. The flavor is a perfect combination for me. And I love that it's not as hard to prep. So one trick is to soften it before you start to carve into it. You can boil some water and put the squash in some boiling water to kind of steam it a little bit for just, 5 minutes. Or you can put it in the microwave. I just poke a few holes in it and put it in the microwave for 2 minutes, not any longer because you don't want an explosion happening. So then so different knives are good for different reasons, of course. Like this is normally a bread knife, but I like to use this. This is my hard squash knife. One, because it's not really thick, like my favorite knife. This one is so thick that it's gonna stick for me. This is what I use. It sticks to the side, so the surface area is really big. So I like to use something small to get into it. So I don't use a chef knife with it, but some people might. I cut it in half first and then I start to carve at it with a chef knife. So I just like to get a flat surface area to work with first because I'm not peeling this squash. So I've softened it a little bit. So you want to keep your thumb out of the way when you go with this. You can soften it more if you like to, but I don't want to cook it too much before I put it in the soup. So it's always going to have a layer of hollow, like a pumpkin. It's like a little green pumpkin is also a name for the squash. So when you start to carve it, it gets softer. You're just getting through like an inch of skin, so of flesh and skin. So think about that. So I just get in there and then carve a little way, go to the other side, watch your thumb, tuck your thumb behind your fingers and just hold it there, and then start to just get all the way around that center. And then, so pretty. I love this squash. So it's just like a pumpkin. Take something sharp on the edge, like a sharp spoon or scooper, and just pull out all the seeds and set them aside. You can toast these just like pumpkin seeds are really good. I like to plop them in the ground and see if they grow. And sometimes I get lucky and get a few squash. Okay. So there's some acorn squash that I've had that you can eat the peel, but not all of them. But kabocha, some people don't like to eat the peel, but I like to just cut off the knobby parts and the darker areas and the peel. I'll show you in a second. Let me get all these seeds out. I just want to get the seeds, get all the fibery stuff out of there. And the edge of this is kind of sharp, so it helps to scrape away some of the fiber. So you just get this, and you don't want to be in a hurry. Just let your shoulders relax. Let your breath go. I just love cooking these. I love to look at the color of it. Okay, so now I'm just gonna carve. See how my knife does the work? I'm just gonna go back and forth with it and kind of carve off some of the harder parts of the peel. Just some of the darker, you'll see these have little knobby parts on them, so I cut that off. And I mean, myself, I haven't noticed these having a bitter flavor in the peel. I think the peel tastes fine, and I like the texture it gives it. So about half of the peel we'll take off. So all the knobby parts. I scrubbed it down first too. I just got kind of a rough scrubber, like whatever those scrubbers that kind of look like loofah. I've got one of those, and I just kind of scrub it off because it has a little bit of a waxy layer, so I just take that off. But again, it tastes good. Some chefs might disagree with me on that, but I really love it. So let's see, I'll cut this side off. And see how I'm tucking my thumb? You don't want your thumb hanging out while you're just carving at it like this, because yeah, accidents can happen. Tuck that thumb back there, and you don't want to start cutting at it with like this baby, or you're not going to want to cook it ever, because it's such a pain in the butt to cut everything with this little knife. And I watched my grandma and my aunt, they always just get to town, get all their vegetables out, and get out this knife and just start chopping away. So try a different way, and then you'll really be able to cut up a lot of veggies at once. So this will go in the compost, and I'm going to cut this little core out too. Okay, it's not much, just a little core area. All right, got all the knobbiness off. I'm leaving some of this. One more little piece. Now I'm just going back and forth with the serrated knife, peeling away. Noticing the breath, taking your time. Now I'll get my bigger knife. So I just sharpened this nice big knife and tucking my thumb. I'm gonna start to just cut it into strips. So towards the end, it'll be the flat piece, and then you have the rounded, just kind of like a cantaloupe or something, like a melon. One more time, just be very careful. Soften it more if it scares you and you don't feel like you've got the knife skills to handle one of these. Okay, tuck your thumb behind. So now I'm just gonna cut it in equal parts. So I've got all these little parts, my U's. So I'm gonna make this a strip so I can cut it in a cube. So this end piece, I'm gonna just cut it in half. Cut these in half. And then I've got nice 4 in a row here. Tuck your thumb behind, take your fingers like this so the knife will just, your fingers won't be poking through like this. Round, and then the knife comes down, and you could cut with your eyes closed, but don't do that. So now we just cut down, cube, 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 so every piece will get cooked evenly. Okay, see, that's a little thicker. Set aside. I've got my other flat piece, so I'm gonna do that. It's a little harder. Okay, and then go the other way. Yeah, this hard thing is working a little better to chop it that way. Got my U shapes. Cut it in half, line them up. Make the cubes. Using my fingernails as my little claw. Right here. I was reading A New Earth with a group of yoga teachers in training, and they were using that book down at this lovely Studio Glow. A lot of you guys on here know because you're locals watching this, or maybe all 3 of you watching this, whoever's watching this. Down at Glow, they were using that book, and I came across a quote. There's a quote in there from Hafiz, the Bhakti yogi, because he's a poet that writes poems about devotion to God, to spirit, to universe, to whatever source. And it says, I'm the hole in the flute that Christ's music moves through. Listen to the music, something like that. And I just loved it so much. And I just think about cooking as the way the universe or source when I'm really close to spirit, because I just get totally present with it, and I feel it and I smell it, and I love like the lentils. Just look at that color and the way it feels. It's so nice. So I just invite you to find some passion, whatever you're passionate about. Make sure you get some of that into your life often. Whatever, when you move through and you just feel energy flowing through you as you do your thing, if it's on the water, if it's going for a walk, even when you just like pet your dog or your cat, take a moment to notice the feeling and just connect with no mind, just letting it go, just letting the music flow through you, just listening to the music that you feel, that your sensations, your senses open up and soak it up. So I could just chop and cook all day. So I feel that from a little kid. I just feel my passion consistently for cooking. So I hope that you guys can learn something from this, and I can use that passion to help you guys open up to some new recipes. Whoa, that was fun. Okay. I'm in Mom's kitchen. She's out of town. All right. So I like to use coconut oil for this. I'm going to start to heat oil up. This is the hardest part of this recipe, chopping up the squash. Everything else is just quick, and then you just stir and let the stuff cook. So I'm going to use a tablespoon of sesame oil. I'm making a big pan because if you get all this out, go ahead and use a lot, and you have it in the fridge for the whole week. So we're going to temper our spices. So I'll get that going. Sesame and coconut are good together. I left my coconut oil over at my house, so I'm just going to use the sesame without it because it'll be delicious. So I'm going to start to temper. So I'm getting the oil heated up. And tempering these spices means you just put them in the oil, you don't go anywhere, and watch them and stir them and get all the good oils of the spice to come out by heating them in oil. Okay, so this I found in Mom's cabinet, looks really yummy. This is, I'm gonna put this on low, a teaspoon of, this is roasted ginger. So we'll try that out, but you don't have to use that, just use ginger. We're gonna use ginger also. So a teaspoon of this roasted fun ginger, a teaspoon of ground chili powder. This is masoor dal, so it's red lentils with Indian spice. Okay, mustard seed. I'm going to use a teaspoon of mustard seed, whole mustard seed. Put it in the oil. Teaspoon, just keeping it simple, teaspoon of cumin seed. You can use ground cumin too, but this is so fun to get. There's not a whole bunch of ingredients in here. It's pretty much just the spices. So a little crunch of a nice whole cumin seed. It's fun to get whole spices and try them out. When you want them ground, you can put them in a coffee grinder that's just set aside for spices and use that. Half a teaspoon, I'm not using these things, half a teaspoon of coriander. This is ground. You can also use whole. Coriander seed can be it can be strong. So that one I did get ground because when you bite into coriander, some people don't like that flavor in my family. So just a little ground. So half a teaspoon of that because it goes a long way. Okay, then I'm going to get my ginger out of the freezer because I learned from the awesome chefs that I used to work with. You put it in the freezer, peel and all. I don't take the peel off ever. And just use a grater, like a cheese grater, and just grate it in there. So I'm gonna do about a tablespoon or like an inch. So I'm gonna work this down. Let's see, I'll go on the wide side. So we'll say 2 tablespoons of this. Just go crazy, just try it out. You can also chop it up, but you can keep ginger for a long time if you just keep it in the freezer, put it in a baggie, pop it out when you need it, grate it up, put it back in the freezer. Take a deep breath, get present, just listen to the sound, feel. You can smell the ginger. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. Such a bright, beautiful, and the sesame oil. I love these flavors so much. They're kind of warm. This is kind of a warm dish for a hot summertime right now, but it's just a comforting dish too. It's healthy, it's protein. Okay. Now I'm just going to stir that around to toast it. So I have it on super low, so it won't explode the place. And I'm just gonna toss this around in the hot oil. And I don't know if you can see, it's just oil and the spice, and not for long, and you don't want to walk away from this because it burns quickly. Okay. And it'll soak it up and become kind of like a paste. It gets pasty. I'm gonna let it go just like one more minute, and you can smell, you'll smell the toast, the smell coming out. And it's also good when you make rice, before you add any liquid to rice, when you're making like a brown rice or any basmati or whatever. Maybe not a sticky rice, I haven't tried it with a sticky rice, but a good brown rice, a nice chewy rice. Toast it in oil before you add the water, and it brings out this nutty, wonderful flavor. It adds just a layer of flavor that's a little, it makes it just a little extra special. And you can toast it with the spices and then add your liquid to that. So I can smell the oils have come out just quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add my squash. I'm not really gonna saute the squash. So we're using half of this buttercup, this kabocha. I hope you'll try these. It's just in there by all the butternut and everything, and usually, like, I got it at Publix and it wouldn't ring up. I had to ring it up under something else because nobody knew what it was, but there's always like 3 in there. And I always get one of them. But at Whole Foods and Everman's around here, you can always find them there because they're really popular with vegan cooking, because they're so, the texture's so lovely. So now I'm gonna add my lentils. This is 4 cups, I'm gonna do 2 cups, so half. There are 2 different bags of red lentils I was clearing out because I always have these on my shelf. One was darker than the other, so, but they're so good. So I'm gonna do 2 cups of the lentils. 2 cups. Okay. Just gonna toss them around a little in the spices. And then we'll just add everything else and let it cook. So the rest of what I'm going to add is 2 cups of lentils. So I have 4 cups of veggie stock. I like the organic, but when the veggie stock is on buy one get one, I always get a good bit because it's cheaper. So I'm gonna put this whole thing in there. Nice little trick. Make a hole so this pours out. Okay. And 1 can of coconut milk. So this equals 2 cans. So I'm gonna just do, you could get this and just open it and use half, or get 2 cans. I think this is 2 cans. Anyway, use half of this. This is the rest of one. I like the full fat myself. Okay. All right, and then one more thing here. I'm gonna add a little more. I want this to be a little thinner. I don't want it to be like a really thick, heavy soup. I want it to be kind of a light, a little thinner. So I use these Secret Weapons, these little cubes. They're all natural, vegan, all good ingredients. So they have not chicken, that's like a vegan chicken flavor, not beef, and garden veggie. And it adds such a layer of flavor that's delicious. So I'm using 1 cube of that. And I'm going to add 2 more cups of water. So I can thin it out. And the thing with red lentils that's different about brown lentils and the black lentil is that they turn to really creamy texture. Okay, so I have a total of 6 cups of liquid. So just add more veggie stock if you don't have these on hand, but you can get them from Amazon within 2 days or at natural grocery stores, Whole Foods or Everman's. Okay, stir that up. I'll add some salt. Going with a teaspoon of everything. Let's give it a whirl. There's a recipe that is pretty close to this one that I first had tried this combination, and it's everyday Ayurveda, and teaspoon of salt, 1 cinnamon stick. This is kind of adapted from that. 1 cinnamon stick. And I'm gonna add a little sambal. This is the spicy one, not the sweeter. I guess they're both kind of sweet, but this is the spicy. Okay, so that was a tablespoon. I'll have this all in the comments for you. So that's it. Seems like a lot because I'm talking in between, but you just peel your squash, chop it up, toast your spices in some oil, and then add your lentils. Then you just turn it, get it up to a boil, and let it go. You could add a can of tomatoes if you like to do the more traditional masoor dal. But I just wanted to keep it plain because it's so good. Just this combination of not many ingredients, just the spices and the coconut flavor, it just makes the perfect soup. So enjoy that. I'm gonna cover it up and let it cook, and I'll post a picture also with this when I post this video. Okay, bye-bye.